And the recording has started. Nice. So,
Indeed.
everyone. Hello, Frank.
Hello, Almas.
Today we are talking about, well, anything related to JavaFX, particularly Raspberry Pi stuff, which is always exciting, combining software and hardware. So before we begin, though, would you like to introduce yourself very briefly?
Yes, hello, I'm Frank Delporte, I live in Belgium. I'm doing computer stuff since I was 10 years old. It all started with a Commodore 64, like a lot of people of my age. And what really was a fun thing to do with it is I didn't play a lot of games. I really started programming with very basic language. And I was able to control my Lego trains with my computer. So already then you could use a relay board. So that's with a low voltage signal, you can turn something on and off, which uses a higher voltage. So I used it to control my Lego trains. And that's how I got inspired by everything which is software and hardware. And then, it's a long time ago. So I went through the first websites and bringing video to the web and started programming with C#. And then later it became Java the last 10 years. So I have quite some history in programming. And then the last 10 years, it's really Java and some JavaFX, which I really like to use to build some graphical user stuff. Yes, indeed. And that's where I, turned a bit into Raspberry Pi programming with Java. I wrote some articles and it ended up with a book, a real book, my first book I ever written, 300, more than 300 pages of fun stuff with Java on the Raspberry Pi. And that's how we got into contact because, I also started experimenting with your gaming framework or engine, or what is the best way to call it. Because I wanted to know, can you do the same thing also on a Raspberry Pi? And yes, indeed, we already have proven that.
And definitely, once we look into all the performance stuff that we can improve, that would be really awesome to have 68 frames per second running on Raspberry Pi.
Definitely, if you look into the power of this Raspberry Pi, the latest Raspberry Pi 4, which has up to 8 gigabytes of memory, for about 50-60 euros, that's a page turner. This is really a powerful device for a very low price. And that Commodore 64, where it started for me, that was a big keyboard with the computer inside the keyboard. And now the Raspberry Pi has done the same thing. They have this new Raspberry Pi 400.
400,
yeah. So it's a small device. It's just a keyboard, but if you look at the back, you'll see all the connections for network, for monitor, for those pins to connect your own electronics to it. So for 75 euros, I think, you have a full PC. Okay, you have to attach a monitor and a power supply and a mouse, but you just take your keyboard and it's it's a laptop without a screen. You can call it like that.
And it's got the power as well. Like you can do pretty cool stuff with it.
A lot of power indeed. So it's the same thing as the Raspberry Pi with 4 gig of memory, and they just turned around a bit the internal, all the components, and they made it fit into this keyboard. And it's a really fun thing. So I learned. I got into contact with the Raspberry Pi and Arduino, all those cheap electronics, fun stuff at Coder Dojo. It's a computer club where we teach kids to program. And we have different coaches, and the coaches bring their own interest into this event to show it to the kids. But of course, as a coach, you also see all this new stuff. And that's where I got into contact with these things and realized what you can do with very cheap components. If you have an electronics starter kit that you can buy on eBay for 20-30 euros, you have a lot of LEDs and resistors and a small screen and a distance sensor, all these fun components to start experimenting with hardware controlled by the Raspberry Pi, by Python.
Most of the people even with Arduino, you can do really cool stuff. But Raspberry Pi, especially 4, takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, and then definitely if you combine it with Java and JavaFX, and that's I turned to Java on the Raspberry Pi because I tried to make a Pong game, one of the oldest games ever made, with Python. So, and building a user interface with Python as a Java developer, wow, it didn't work for me. I didn't like it, because I didn't know it maybe well enough. But on the other hand, I already knew JavaFX, and then I thought, this would be so much easier to do with JavaFX. And why can I not use it on the Raspberry Pi? And it turned out you can do it. If you install Raspberry Pi OS, which is a Linux operating system, but you go for the full version, then you have Java 11 pre-installed. So you have everything to start immediately. And then it comes with a lot of tools to program. So, and you have Visual Studio Code, which you can run on the Raspberry Pi. So everything is there. To if you don't have the budget for a big shot laptop or PC, you buy yourself a Raspberry Pi, and you can learn to program in any language. Java.
How do you get JavaFX on it? Is it done through Maven, or do you have to install it separately?
That's one of the possibilities, is to have a full jar with everything, but the best approach is to go to the Gluon website. So the Gluon is the company maintaining OpenJFX, with a lot of contributors, of course. But they have versions on their website that you can download. It's about 30 or 40 megabytes, I think, that you put on your Raspberry Pi, and you, with the right starting script, Java jar, and then some extra arguments. It uses a JavaFX, which has been especially built for the Raspberry Pi, because that's one of the recent evolutions, is that Gluon is also putting a lot of effort into optimizing JavaFX also for embedded devices.
Yeah.
So we're really, really going back to that world of write once and run everywhere. That's definitely the case if you look into JavaFX. And they have these built Gluon substrate and combination with GraalVM. So you can build everything for Windows, for Mac, for Linux, for Android, for iOS, all from the same code base. I have this blog post describing this on the Foojay website.
I'll copy the link into the description of the video so that people can also follow that.
Maybe I can show you. I can show my screen, and I have some stuff that I can. Voila.
From the user experience point of view, I was kind of thinking if you could use Maven as you would normally use on Mac, Linux, and Windows, because it just picks up the platform-specific jars using the classifier.
That's what
I'm wondering if there's a Raspberry Pi classifier.
I don't really need it. So what I actually do is I build my projects on my PC, because I have a decent PC, so it's easier to work on it. And then I just put all my sources on the Raspberry Pi, run Maven clean package. And
I see. So it's very similar to how you would deploy to mobile.
So going back to that, those Gluon, let's zoom in a bit. So this is what you now really can do with JavaFX. So you build something as a developer, you put it on GitHub. In GitHub, you have these actions that you can run on specific platforms. So you can run on GitHub Action on Windows, on Mac, and on Linux. And from that one single source, you have your executable for each platform, which is a native application. So it starts very fast. It uses the minimum of memory. And the same flow can be used to deliver at the same time to the App Store, so that on the Google Store and on the Apple Store, you get your built artifact. So your application is immediately pushed towards these stores. And I have this very small application. So if you start building electronic stuff with Java, with Raspberry Pi, the very first thing you will do is use a LED and turn it on and off. And to do this, you need to use a resistor. And I have written this small little application, which was an example from my book. So let me look if I can find the application here. So it's a very small application that you can select the colors that you see on these resistors to know what is the resistance that it gives you, and that you can use it in combination with your LED to turn it on and off. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is to build a JavaFX application and have it on a mobile phone. And as I had these examples from my book, it was very easy to build this. For the people who don't know Foojay, that's one of the most popular sites, let's call it like that for now, where you only recently, it's a new site where you find a lot of interesting topics, everything related to Java. And there are some posts about JavaFX and FXGL, of course, but there is for everyone active in the Java community. Please take a look at the site, because every day there's an interesting new article published here. And that one with the JavaFX to mobile applications is also part of this website.
Nice.
I have a new one, which is just for the time of the year. As an example, let me start a video. For the people who want to start doing Java and Raspberry Pi, blinking a LED, I have a Christmas light, a Christmas LEDs example described here. So the idea is here that you just have a bunch of LEDs and they do something. And what they do is completely up to you. I just created some examples in Java as a random on and off, all one by one. And then there's also something with fading, so they fade on and they fade off. What you see here is the effect of a Java program. So it's a Java program running on the Raspberry Pi. And it's very easy to get started with this. It's a Maven project. It uses the Pi4J library, which is a library to connect your Java code with this electronics. And it's really the basic. It's turning a LED on and off, or dimming it, putting it at a certain level. And it's a starting point. From here, you can control everything. Everything which you can connect to a Raspberry Pi, or if it's a 22-volt light that you want to turn on and off, that's also possible, but then you need some extra components in between. But all that kind of stuff, home automation, controlling some kind of device, it all becomes possible with Java code. And that's what I really like. And another movie I want to show is something I've built for my son. So he's a drum player, and I built this small 7-inch touchscreen. So you find these screens, I think, for 40 or 50 euros to connect it with the Raspberry Pi. I have on this Raspberry Pi a relay board so that I can control 8 220-volt things like this light, for instance. And it's also communicating with an Arduino, and this Arduino is controlling these LED strips. And here again, you see the power of JavaFX. You have this very beautiful user components, user interface components. It's Java, so there is even a web site integrated in this application that we can call the red signal from everywhere in the house, that our son knows that dinner is on the table. So he knows he has to come down, and we don't have to shout from down the stairs. He never hears us because, yes, he's drumming, of course. So all this is of course, it's a learning curve. If you are a software developer and you've never used electronic components, you have to learn these. You have to try out. You have to know, how do I connect something to a Raspberry Pi? There are 40 pins there. Which are the pins I can use? Some of these pins have specific use cases. Others can be used for different things. So there's a bit of research, but as a software developer, you love to learn new things and to experiment. That's what I find very interesting in this Raspberry Pi stuff, that it becomes so easy to learn new things. If you're interested in this Christmas tree, I have this fully described on the Java Advent website. where it even gives a little bit of history about the Raspberry Pi and the new Raspberry Pis which were launched this year. How you start with Maven on the Raspberry Pi. Those are the 40 pins, those little pins that you have on the Raspberry Pi. Which are these pins? Where do I find power? Where do I find a specific number that I can control through Java, and so on and so on. So this is how my setup looks like, and this is my my Christmas tree. It's just a bunch of wires and LEDs, and it's you can find 100 of these LEDs for a few euros on eBay, and you get them with the post in a few weeks from China. That's where you can find all the cheap things. If you want to do it faster, there are a lot of electronic websites, web stores where you can find all this stuff. And then if you look into the code, it's very easy. We add a LED, so we say that we want a pin, which is an output pin, and then we can send an on and off state, or we can put it to a certain PWM. PWM is a level between 1 and 100 if you want to dim a light. And as it is a Java Maven application, you can just package it on the Raspberry Pi and then run it. If you want to do it like this, or you can run it from Visual Studio, which will also recognize a Java application and give you a run button. So it is Java and it is on the Raspberry Pi, which gives you access to all this electronic stuff. I keep repeating the same thing, but it's really an eye-opener. Once you start doing this and you have your first LED blinking, which is only a few lines of code, then you start realizing what you can do more. And the companies I work for, we build our own hardware. And once you start as a software developer to better understand how this hardware is controlled, you have I2C, you have PWM, that are all different kinds of controlling electronics. And when you better understand how that works on the hardware side, you definitely will be a better software developer in this kind of company. If you're only doing web-based cloud running applications, maybe it's not that important. But if you start interacting with hardware, then it becomes important to understand all these this kind of stuff.
Yeah, particularly if you're doing anything related to backend, or if you're doing game development, particularly game development, because you want to really have a game that runs at maximum FPS.
Yeah, indeed. And there are tons of possibilities there, that you create a game, but control it with a joystick. If you want to control it with a joystick, you have a lot of joysticks that you can connect to a Raspberry Pi directly to these pins and can read the states of it. Or if you hit something in your game, that the LEDs go on and off. If you want to make a flipper box, something like that. So there you extend your game with some stuff around it, and then it becomes, of course, a very fun project.
Indeed. Well, this is a very great idea, and I think we should take all of these links. If you can send me after the talk,
I have a nice list for you. Yes.
Yeah, I'll compile them together and put them in the video description.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for joining me today, Frank.
Yeah, fun.
And we might do something similar in the future. In fact, we are doing some projects
together.
We are
working on some stuff,
which we're going to announce at some point.
Doing some blog posts, and we're definitely have to experiment a lot in the future and write about it.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Thanks to the audience for watching, and we'll see you guys in a future video.
See you, and thanks.